What's good, ladies and gents? Welcome back to MKO Pugilism, aka MKO Boxing, where we talk all things boxing. Remember to like and subscribe on YouTube, follow on TikTok, all that good stuff. And yeah, let's get into this one. So, a bit of news. I wouldn't exactly call it breaking news, but this is news that has sort of come out among, I want to say, 2 days ago, roughly 3 days ago. I heard of this one. And the news is that. Moses Itauma is going to be facing Dillian, the body snatcher, Whyte, and I believe the date for this is going to be April. Sorry, not April. I mean, in August. I think it's either the 13th or the 16th. I forget one of those. I think it's the 13th of April. They're talking about. So in mid-August, it looks like, according to Mike Coppinger and I believe on the Ring Magazine's Twitter page. Yeah, the rumors are out there now that Dillian Whyte is going to be facing Moses Itauma. Now, this is one of those fights where, as a guy that I quite like Dillian Whyte, in a sense, I kind of don't want this for Dillian Whyte because I don't really think there's anything in this for Dillian Whyte. I think this is one of those fights where it's kind of a bit of a lose-lose because, I mean, admittedly, Dillian Whyte would be a big underdog in this fight. Moses Itauma would be a massive favorite for me. I don't really see much any way that Moses Itauma loses this unless he somehow gets clipped by Dillian Whyte and then Dillian Whyte, is all over him or gets him with that one punch on the temple or something crazy. Where Moses just has a lapse in concentration and then he gets clipped and that's the only way. But I think Moses Itauma just has every advantage going into this. He has the advantage of youth. He's the much younger man. Dillian Whyte is a guy that even at his peak, his balance is not the best. And at this point now, his punch resistance is very bad, and Moses Itauma is a heavyweight that he punches very hard and he's very quick with his shots. So you can imagine he's going to be lighting Dillian Whyte up with punches that he's not going to be able to see coming, and even if he does see them, he's not going to, his reflexes and his reactions, I believe, have been really stunted, and I think Dillian Whyte is at the end of the line, and that the fact that his punch resistance has really deteriorated, it was demonstrated even against Ebenezer Tete, the one they call Uncle Tete, that's allegedly 36 years old or whatever. He looks about 46 or something like that. And yeah, even against Tete, he struggled and he had to labor to a victory. It wasn't a comfortable victory. The Tete was giving him trouble, and that's a guy that you can see is visibly old and past it himself, and you can see Dillian Whyte is in a phase where it's right at the end of his career. He's had a respectable career. He's had some good wins and, been able to beat Joseph Parker, been able to stand in there and take numerous shots off of AJ and wobble AJ and, the Oscar Rivas victory. And there's been various good victories in Dillian Whyte's career. But at this point, we're right at the end of his career. And I just don't think he's going to be able to deal with the punch selection, the skill, the speed, the youth, the energy of a guy like Moses Itauma. So for me, I think there's nothing really to gain for Dillian Whyte. Dillian Whyte is better off just sort of trying to get Derek Chisora in the ring again, or trying to somehow get Joshua in the ring, or someone of his own generation, even a Deontay Wilder. I don't think that'll happen, but I think he needs to be looking at his own sort of generation, because you beat Moses Itauma, there's a little something to gain. I suppose he'll he will be the massive underdog here, and beating Moses Itauma, yes, you could say, well, we didn't expect to see that, but then you'll get the other crowd who will be saying, well, Moses Itauma just simply wasn't ready. He was young, he was green, he wasn't ready for wasn't ready for this step up yet, blah, blah, blah. You have people sort of saying that. But whereas for Moses Itauma, there's a lot to gain here in that Dillian Whyte has boxed at world level. He's a big name. He was a good fighter once upon a time. Was a contender once upon a time, well up there, number one. Really, he did deserve a shot against Deontay Wilder back in the days when Wilder was a champion. So Dillian Whyte's a guy that's sort of been up to the upper echelon, been in world class. So if you're Moses Itauma, a young 20-year-old guy, you go in there, you beat him, you got a big name on your resume. Obviously, those of us that know boxing history will know that you faced a deteriorated version of Dillian Whyte. But as far as name value goes, there's something there to gain for Moses Itauma. But for Dillian Whyte, I don't see anything really to gain from it. But if, Ring Magazine's saying it and, knowing the attitude of Dillian Whyte, that he's not a guy that's really sort of afraid of fighting anybody. He's a guy that once it's set up, he's going to take it, even, going immediately into the Alexander Povetkin rematch when he was viciously knocked out in the first fight. He goes straight back into the rematch and takes it. So we know Dillian Whyte's a brave fighter, wears his heart on his sleeve. So I think if the offer's good enough, if it's enough money, which it seems to allegedly be, according to the Ring and Mark Coppinger, then I think Dillian Whyte takes it. But I think him taking it is going to be to his detriment. I don't see a way in which he'll win this fight. But anyway, let me know your thoughts on this in the comments. And till next time, it's MKO Boxing. Over and out.